1 to stage 2, and as well protects the second stage's single Merlin vacuum engine during launch. That Merlin vacuum or MVac engine ignites after the first stage separates, propelling the second stage along with the SkySats and Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit above the Earth's surface. From there, the SkySat rideshare satellites will separate, and about 14 minutes later, the 58 SpaceX Starlink satellites will deploy. Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-minus 35 minutes. And as a reminder, Falcon 9 uses rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel, and super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer. Currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right until the last minute of the countdown. The stack of 58 Starlink satellites and 3 SkySats are safely enclosed inside of that 17-foot diameter payload fairing that you can see on your screen, which is that structure at the very top of the rocket. This protects the satellites from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need them, and we will jettison the fairing halves while the second stage continues to orbit. The fairing halves we are using today flew on previous but separate missions. One half flew on JCSat 18 in December of 2019, and the other half flew on our first Starlink launch in January earlier this year. Now, we will be attempting to recover the fairing halves today using our recovery ships Mystery and Mischief. There you can see them on your screen. At approximately T plus 40 minutes, the team will perform a poll to confirm if we're all good to make a safe catch attempt. Weather plays a big factor in the go, no-go decision for the catch attempt, as it can impact not only the sea states for the boats, but also the fairing's altitude, position, and speed, which impact how the fairing will fall back to Earth. Now, we've been keeping an eye out on some thick layer clouds for this morning's launch, but currently weather is looking good for T0. The vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just about 3 minutes and 45 seconds from now. For those of you that don't know much about the Starlink program, our mission is to bring high-speed, low-latency internet to people all over Earth. And every one of these Starlink missions gets us closer to achieving that goal. Some of the most exciting opportunities for Starlink are locations where traditional fiber or cable is simply not practical, such as rural or remote communities. It's also an exciting place for where fiber and cable are impossible, such as aircrafts or cruise ships. This is a big endeavor, and we have a lot of work ahead of us, but today's launch gets us one step closer to these ambitions. On our last Starlink mission just over a week ago, we captured some really cool footage of fairing deploy, which we wanted to share with you today. And there you can see on your screen the fairing deploy. You can see the second stage clearly with the Starlink satellites making their way to their targeted orbit. One of my favorite videos that I've seen so far. If you're interested in getting future news about Starlink, about our Starlink service, head over to starlink.com and sign up for updates. We're currently at T-minus 2.5 minutes from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Super chilled liquid oxygen, which, as I mentioned earlier, is our propellant oxidizer. And that's what's creating those white clouds around Falcon 9 that you see on your screen there, and that's when it gets exposed to the warmer ambient air. First stage finished prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes and second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. And coming up at T-minus 60 seconds, there will be a call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Then at about T-minus 2 seconds, the Merlin engines will light and liftoff will be commanded at T0. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is still looking good, and the range is green for launch. And as I mentioned, we are at T-minus 1 minute and about 15 seconds here. So At T minus 1 minute, we will hear that call out for Falcon 9 being in startup. And from then on, the vehicle will basically autonomously make the decision if we will be launching today.
Falcon 9's in startup.
And there's that confirmation that Falcon 9 is in startup. Next up at T minus 45 seconds, we should hear the call out for a go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And there's that call out for go for launch. So as we're approaching T0, it is T minus 35 seconds. Let's watch and listen into the nets and watch this liftoff of our
30 seconds.
Of our Starlink payload with our planet's SkySats.
T minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of Falcon 9 and Starlink 8.
T plus 40 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 has just had a successful liftoff.
Telemetry are nominal.
A successful liftoff from pad 40 for its first Starlink rideshare, carrying 3 Planet SkySats and our SpaceX Starlink satellites. Next coming up will be Max Q, and that is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle sees, the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout ascent.
Max Q.
And there's that call out that we just passed through Max Q. Next up will be 3 events happening back to back, and that will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, as well as second engine start, or SES1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is when all 9 of the M1D engines shut off and slow the vehicle down in preparation for the next event, which is stage separation. And stage separation is where the first stage separates from the second stage, with first stage making its way back to Earth and second stage taking our satellites to their targeted orbit. And then finally will be SES1, which is second engine start, with that MVAC engine lighting up and taking those
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
and taking those satellites to orbit. Now those 3 events are coming up here in about 15 seconds. Again, that is MECO, stage separation, and SES1.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there, as you saw live on your screen, MECO, main engine cutoff, and stage separation. First stage being on your left screen. On your right screen is second stage with that MVAC engine glowing bright red there. On your left screen, you can see those grid fins deploying on the first stage. Those grid fins help.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And we just had fairing separation. We had a successful deployment of those fairing halves. Let's see if Miss Tree and Miss Chief can make a catch attempt
Vehicle
today.
continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
And as I was mentioning, the grid fins have deployed. That helps guide that first stage back to its landing zone.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
Stage 2 is still looking good. We're getting a nice bright view of first stage on your left screen. And coming up next for first stage as it makes its way back to Earth, it will perform a couple of burns, the first of which will be the entry burn. And that entry burn is where 3 of the 9 Merlin 1D engines light up and slow the stage down as it re-enters back into the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. The second burn is called the landing burn, and this is when the single engine on the vehicle, the E9 engine, ignites and brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship. And again, we are attempting to land on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, today. We're getting a nice bright view. I believe that is the sun hitting that first stage on your left screen there. So really, really cool view of that. Second stage is still looking good. That is on your right screen. And at T plus 5.5 minutes, we're just about 1 minute and 15 seconds or so away from that entry burn beginning on that first stage.
Vehicle continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
There's that call out that the second stage vehicle is still on a good trajectory. And again, that first stage is making its way back to our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, with the entry burn coming up here in about 30 seconds or so. Again, if you're just now joining us, what you can see on your left screen is first stage with those grid fins deployed, guiding the vehicle back to its landing zone.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And there you can see that the entry burn has begun. It's lighting up that screen pretty bright there. Now, the entry burn will last about 20 seconds long. And that completes the entry burn for first stage. We have a really cool view of Earth in the background of first stage. That is an awesome view. Stage 2 is still looking good. We're just about 1 minute away from that landing
Signal
burn.
first stage from the Cape expected.
And we did hear that call out that we did lose that live signal of the first stage as expected. Coming up here in at about T plus 8 minutes and 21 seconds will be the beginning of the landing burn. Landing burn will last about 20 seconds long, and then hopefully we'll get to see first stage touch down on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You.
Stage 1 is transonic.
And about 10 seconds after landing of the first stage will be SECO 1 on second stage. So we will have a couple of events happening very close to each other. So we'll listen in and wait for those call outs.
Stage 2 has entered terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
And that landing burn has begun on the first stage. Again, this will last about 20 seconds long. Let's wait and watch to see if we can land this booster
Stage
for
2
a third
FTS
time.
is saved.
Stage 1 landing legs have deployed.
Wow, and we got a live, awesome view.
And
touchdown.
stage 1 is landed. Landing operators proceed to 11.100 on recovery 1 and ECF 9.
And there, you heard that call out, and you can see on your left screen that stage 1 has landed on Of Course I Still Love You.